You ever hear of this game called Vib Ribbon? It's a rhythm game. You can put your own CDs in it. We do that for Game of the Month. We each pick one song and we make a CD. So we make our own version of Vib Ribbon. So everybody gets a song.
I'm not against that.
I know.
We're gonna stick.
I still, as stupid as I was against it, I would want to drive the Stop Something coach or the My Coaches for DS, and we all go for a month of
Oh, they can speak fluent Japanese now.
Sorry, what that go?
That one is $40.
This is
that one got so expensive because every weeaboo.
No, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna play through like a Japanese game.
You're gonna take a step further. You're gonna import like Hatsune Miku for
No, I'm not importing that.
Oh, it's like
terrible fucking stream
quality.
Nobody likes Hatsune Miku except like Carlos.
Oh, Carlos liked it.
All right, well, I'm gonna try to get us back on track. So it's like, new style of game clubs. We're starting game pubs now. We're just gonna sit here and get drunk and talk about the game that we played.
I'm responsible. I would never do such a thing.
Yeah. So
the sheriff goes back. I didn't do that.
Yeah, just please don't break the monitor and everything.
You're allowed to cut off the whole time. It's like, oh, I hated this game.
Whatever.
Forgot that was a stream.
Nice.
Great, good stream. What did I do? Kevin broke it already.
The fuck did I break it?
I don't know.
Hey! We're here. We're Game Clubs. We like to get together, play some games. Now we like to drink while we play games.
We're evolving.
We're evolving. It's like a Pokemon,
We're becoming real
but
men.
with serious alcoholism problems.
Exactly.
Like Drink-a-Puss or something. I don't know what they call it.
So we had to play. I said had, but we all wanted to play.
We had to play this.
Neverdead last month,
Yeah.
and that was.
There's a lot we can talk about.
We'll start by at least saying that we picked it differently than we did. Like we all scoured the store,
liked it,
and picked something and brought them back and debated them out. So that way it's kind of all on all of us equally. So what we ended up with.
We don't have a store with us this time, I've noticed.
Yeah. Well, he's basically got a bunch of games.
Yeah, well, we're not at the store today. We're utilizing our headquarters, I guess.
Deep in the recesses of space.
Definitely not in anyone's garage.
Surrounded by xenomorphs and Russians, cosmonauts. Laika the dog is floating around.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
she never died. She just lives forever in space.
Just like Neverdead, guy.
Yes. Her head falls off and she has her little dog head on her little dog body on me.
Right, so, Mike, why don't you lead us on this adventure?
Neverdead's a bad game.
Oh, wow.
All right, I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah, you said it.
Well, because here's the thing.
Here's
the thing. It is a very bad game, but I don't think it had to be. I think there are a lot of really good ideas. The biggest problems were, number one, the frame rate was really dodgy on PS3.
Yeah.
Number two, there were a lot of problems with the camera angles where, you'd get stuck in a corner or like a bunch of things would be happening and you couldn't see what you're doing, which is a real bummer. And number three, and the biggest problem is they don't tell you how to do anything in this game. They explain to you how to use your weapons and your sword and stuff like that, but after that, it's all over. The story...
it's all over.
It's all over.
There's no way for this to not turn into a rant, but from all of us.
Well,
I'm just...
No, because the thing is, here's the thing. I actually...
hated it so much I didn't play it.
The first level was the dumbest thing they could have done, because that was the most boring part of the game. Like, being in the asylum, and it's like, oh, look, grandbabies are here. They're going to eat your head, and then you'll get to, like, digest it. Look at all this brown that's surrounding you. Oh, it's all garbagey looking. I'm like, oh, this game is not going to be good. But then it opens up more.
To counter that, though, Deadly Premonition, the forest level is the only part of that game I got bored in.
Oh, yeah. There's
always
like...
past that, the game was amazing, but, like, that forest level was kind of iffy.
But, yeah, I think that, number one, that's the best thing to do is just get through the first level and see how you like it afterwards, because you can't really judge it unless you've gotten a couple levels in.
That's any game.
The other thing, and this is a huge problem, is it doesn't have a combo system in it or anything like that, but it's kind of got a combo system in it, in that... You can fall apart and you can gather your body parts up, but if you're doing well, you shouldn't be doing that. And the problem is, like, I noticed that, especially on the last boss, he does this stupid shockwave thing that you can barely see.
If you don't time that perfectly.
Yeah. If you don't see it and they don't explain it to you, your whole body explodes, and then you have to go around collecting all the pieces again, which sucks. Like, it takes you out of the game.
And that always does that right before your window to attack him. So you have to go through the whole cycle.
You have to do it fast.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm exploding. Because I didn't notice the shockwave at first. I thought I was just, like, getting hit by enemies. I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, what is going on? Like, this is garbage. But then once you figure out, it's like, it's the shockwave. You can jump over it, but it's easier to dodge over it. So that's kind of the thing I noticed. Because at first when I was playing the game, I was falling apart constantly. And then as I went through the game and I got better at it, it was very rare that I'd fall apart. I'd lose arms and legs and stuff like that. But sometimes you want to do that because you can still shoot if you lose your arms. It's just whatever the arm is facing will just, if you can't aim, it'll just shoot.
It seemed kind of inconsistent for me, though, when I would lose my head. Because later in the game, at certain times, you would just instantly,
certain attacks I feel like are marked for, like, if you get hit by these, you lose your head, and they don't really explain that, which is, again, a huge problem with this game. But other than that, I feel like there were times where I actually really got into it, and you're just, like, you can overlook all the flaws in it, and you're just having a great time. Like, you're just rolling around, shooting things, stabbing things. Like, you're throwing your arm at them, and then they swallow it, and then you shoot your way out with your arm. Like,
That was fun, except that only happened once.
What?
Like that one boss fight. That was
you can do it. Well, you don't have. You can. You don't have to do it.
That was an interesting concept, and they did it for that one boss fight.
Well, you do it with the puppies too.
You could have?
Yeah, you throw them. They even say it. They're like, oh, those puppies love to fetch, so you throw your arm and
I heard that, and I was like, I threw my arm and like nothing happened. So
well, they'll go and pick it up, and they'll keep them busy, and then you can just shoot and then kill like all the ones around them.
Well, I mean,
not always.
You could do that in theory, but the game did not explain that.
Other than that, I think what made me actually enjoy the game was like I like the idea behind it, and I like the story. Like, I like that he's just this old crotchety dude that used to be a Final Fantasy character.
You know who he looks exactly like is the main character from Lost Odyssey. When his younger version.
Yeah. But I like the idea that they took the trope of like this young, like, oh, I'm going to defeat the evil man, and then he just gets wrecked, and then he's just this dude who can't die, who's a drunk now, and like he just tells these terrible jokes that nobody likes. Like it's kind of like he's like
slice him and brice him. I was like, every time he whipped out a sword, I was like, I don't want to talk.
He's kind of like Ash from The Evil Dead, where it's just like he's not a likable guy. He's not funny. He's a terrible person, but it's still kind of like this is. All right, this is stupid, but I like
What were your first thoughts of like the opening sequence with that like Shakespearean? I told you.
He broke it on a chair. He broke it on a chair.
No, the thing just wasn't locked in. Go ahead. We're moving on.
That Shakespearean like green goblin guy with the nose.
If there's anything we know about Mike over there is that he never lets it go.
We're moving on.
Actually, that's one of my favorite parts of the game. Everything was so weird looking.
I like
all the bosses were crazy looking, and
that guy aspect of it.
But I was had a long carrot nose.
Yeah. And you were like, "What is going on? Like, what kind of game is this going to be?"
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It never really decides. I don't think. Like, it's kind of an action game, but it's kind of like comedy, and it's kind of like it's a little bit of everything. Like,
it was not comedy on
purpose. Well, I mean that's the joke. It's like a Neil Hamburger joke. It's not funny, but it's funny because it's not
topical.
Right?
The gameplay was its biggest flaw. It could have sustained itself.
It needed to be tighter, and that was the problem.
I feel like it had a concept of that it shouldn't have gone any further than I have an idea for a game. It would be kind of novel if. Your body parts fell apart.
You and me were talking about it today. It really seemed like somebody had this awesome idea, and they presented the idea like, "That's great, Bill. You can never die. I like where you're going."
Yeah.
But then where's the challenge in the game? They're like, these puppies, these little head suck things. They suck your head, so you can die, Bill. No, you can't. You just live forever.
Well, there you go, right there.
That doesn't. Yeah, it was there. But I'll let you finish before I.
Give your head a real.
I don't think it was all there at the end of the day. Like I'm not gonna say this was game of the year or game of any year really, but I think it had an interesting concept. I wish there was Neverdead 2. And why did they not mention that Megadeth did the main theme song? Yes, Megadeth.
I would have. I finished
playing it alone. I finished playing it, and I'm listening to the song at the end credits after the musical number, and I'm like. This song's not bad. Like, it kind of sounds like Megadeth a little bit. Like, this is okay. Like, it's not really my favorite song, but it's kind of like Megadeth. And then, like, it scrolls up, it's like, Neverdead, the song by Megadeth. Just trying to think, like, why did you not advertise this? Were you embarrassed of this? Logo? Yeah, it had the Megadeth logo.
Nice.
And it's not a great song, but it's pretty funny, like, that it was even in it.
You should have just do Symphony of Destruction.
And the only other thing is when you beat the game, you get the option to
the song's called
unlock two skills, which is, I think they're called Desperate and Foul Mouth. And so if you equip them, he changes his one-liners to, like, he's just like, oh, we need to go kill these guys. Like, oh, I hope I don't get too hurt here. This is gonna suck.
That would have made the game way better.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with you. I think they should have had that unlocked at first.
That would have been way better.
Or like you find in the game.
I like the idea that you're kind of unlocking new skills and deciding how you want to play it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Other than that, I know you guys aren't gonna like it, but I enjoyed it.
Well, I don't want to say that I hated on every aspect, but let's see what Kevin thought.
all right, Kevin. Mr.
I've already well,
I've been talking about it.
I said I
said
that in the playthroughs on record, but I was going to do my own little shelf series.
So Kevin streamed the whole thing, so we have all of your thoughts.
Awful.
It was my slow descent into madness. Because here's the thing: every time I booted up that game, I started at 100%. I was like, all right, this game's going to go great, and then I'd slowly drift off and be like, all right, this game's making me really angry. This game's pissing me off. I'd shut it down for the day. And then the next day I'd go back and seem like, all right, this is going to be fine. Just the more time I spent with it, I was like, it's just so sloppy. And it's kind of like Deadly Premonition where that game will never die, will it? It's
never dead.
It leaves an indelible mark on everybody who plays it.
It's too beautiful.
Well, why don't we just make it front and center?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
give it the respect it deserves.
If the game was made by anybody else,
get some glue because that never moves from its spot now.
Better than the booze.
But it should have its own shelf that's made out of gold. I'm just saying.
It'll be up there.
No, when you get the collector's edition, you can do that.
That's right.
But if it was made by anybody else, or if Konami did make a Neverdead 2, I feel like it would be a good game.
Yeah.
It just... The concept of never dying in a game almost can't be done because, one, there's no challenge at that point, and it really feels like somebody's like, great crap, there's no challenge now.
To counter.
Make these one little enemies that are solely there to suck your head up.
I'm going to counter that and say play Warrior Land 3. You can't die in that game, but
that's
still
a puzzle platformer.
Yeah, but it's still a challenge. It's a game where you can't die.
Didn't work for this.
So,
I will
say, I really like the way they use the grandbabies when you're fighting that guy with all the knives in his thing, because you had to cut off his arms, and then you had to let the grandbabies eat them and digest them.
I hated that fight though.
That's a terrible part about the game. It's the last two bosses are really hard.
They are.
I mean, he was okay once you figure it out.
My other issue was I hate everybody in the game. I don't like a single character.
That's very true.
You don't like Bryce Boltzmann?
I don't like Bryce. I think Bryce is a dick.
That's his character.
I don't like Arcadia because she's whiny and needy.
Yeah.
You don't see her a lot of her really. She's just kind of there. Nikki Summerfield wears stupid pants that don't connect at the knee, but somehow hold on to her pants. Yeah, and then she's magically some kind of magical medium. Your boss, spoiler because who cares?
Hey, boss, spoilers.
Kevin, you ruined the game.
Spoiler, whatever. Your boss that sounds like a robot ends up being the enemy. I knew that was coming because he was like, well, thank you, Bryce. Your next mission is at this museum.
Give it some respect because it's not just he's an enemy. It's that the building you are in is inside his stomach.
Which I still don't understand. He's like, this room?
You're inside my tummy right now.
You're in my stomach. And it's like, wait, what? And then the walls are
here's the thing. I thought
are you going to explain this? Don't worry, they're going to explain it after the fight.
No.
And then you walk outside. I was like, oh, we're going to walk out of this giant creature. But no, you're just back in the building again.
See, that's the thing. There's a lot of plot holes in this game where if it was cleaned up a little bit...
There's no plot.
There's no plot. But my biggest one is that during the final boss fight, which I couldn't finish the game, I tried, but the boss fight pissed me off, was the little eye that keeps Bryce alive. After you do the first stage of the boss, he takes the eye out, but you continue the game... You didn't
finish it.
So let me guess. The power was inside him all along.
No. He pulled a Bryce, and when he was like, "Sleep well, my friend," he grabbed the other dude's eye and put it in his hand.
The other immortal guy, the red hand.
He'd take the other guy's demon.
So he had two eyes in him.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Now I get it, but when I was playing, I was like, well, then I guess everything we're doing is
well, even in the game, I'm like, well, wait a minute, how is he still falling apart? But then even the main boss is like, oh, you're still going to be immortal for a little bit, but it'll fade.
Brings me back to the other thing. So the guy that made him immortal was trying to kill him in the first place.
No, he said he needed his wife or something.
He needed his wife. He needed.
So but he doesn't need Bryce.
He doesn't need Bryce. He just wanted to torture Bryce.
And then he used he used his eye. He could see everything Bryce saw through his eye to track down to a replacement medium, which was his wife in the beginning.
Take his eye, kill Bryce. So you don't have this problem.
No,
nothing is more of a punishment than someone who can't die.
And they kind of sell that, literally, everything Bryce has to do. It's like, how are we gonna get past it? It's like, rip off your head. It's easy. It's like, that really hurts a lot, right? It's like, no, just do it. It's easy. You can't die.
Just throw it through the basketball hoop for fun.
I gotta ask you guys, when you went to Arcadia's apartment, did you go and like test everything out?
Oh yeah.
When he was in the shower, he took it out and he put it in the washing machine.
He puts it in a washing machine.
That's the shortest washer ever. I was like, is he gonna walk around without his head for the next like 20 minutes? Like, what's going on?
I will say that was amusing to me. I like those little things I liked, but
yeah.
But we're gonna go back to where it didn't really tell you how to play. Maybe I missed it in the commotion of me trying to shoot things, but I had no clue that you could hit the right stick and zoom in on the weapons.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
There are certain enemies it's good.
That would have made the game better for those flying like harpy things I was trying to shoot.
Oh, I didn't
There's a few section of those that you have to clear them out.
Yeah, well, for the like an assault rifle, if I had that, it's easy to kill.
I think it's those enemies with the tanks that that's the use for is when you have to shoot.
Well, these I thought you had to kill the sword.
Yeah, well, it does say that in the beginning of the game. It's just don't bother shooting them.
Yeah, they say don't bother shooting it, but the wording is specific. It's like weapons, guns are ineffective or something like that.
Rick just hated this
which
game
I read as not effective at all.
But that's how I did too. Until you realize later, some of them have this yellow tank on their side that you can.
Well, those are different.
Yeah, those are like the.
But like
he just killed a grand.
The way the game said it to me was like, don't use a gun on this thing.
Yeah.
The problem is, the sword sucks. Like the
gun sucked. The sword's pretty effective, actually.
Well, the sword's effective, but like when we just got off Metal Gear Rising, you can control the whole movement of that blade.
It's a little more polished game than.
No, I get it. But I'm just saying. I
have a feeling Konami wasn't spending Kojima money on this.
I was going to say that's also a platinum game.
Although they spent Megadeth money, so I don't know if that's about it.
But the thing is, like, platinum games is perfect.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think they've ever made a bad game. They made that one Legend of Korra game. But
that doesn't count. That's not real.
We get to so like I whip out my sword and it told me what was it? You have to like hold R1 and then you move the stick or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But like it kind of just felt Bryce was just going and like not hitting anything.
Yeah, well, kind of.
You could do it in other ways. Like you could hold it and power up, or you could hold it down, or like
it never explains that you could power up the sword. I had no clue you could do that.
Well, it does, but the problem is the message disappears really quickly.
See, that's the issue. If it just
no, it's agree that the game does not teach you the different elements of it.
It took me a while to realize when the regeneration thing happened, right? Mm-hmm. So the way I perceived it from what the game was telling me is that Bryce can either...
His head fell off, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, good. Bryce can either roll to his body parts to put himself back together.
Yeah.
Or you have to go near those snake vial things.
Yeah.
And then you can regenerate yourself. It didn't say pick it up. It said go near it. Mm-hmm. So I just figured that was like a safe zone or something. So I'd go near it, and I'd click it, and then I couldn't come back. And I didn't understand why.
There's a big delay on it. When you do pick them up, too, sometimes that would drive me nuts.
So then I was just like, okay, screw this. So I'm playing the game a little more. And then out of, like, frustration, I'm like, God, I hope there's a snake thing I can't see around. And I hit the stick, and I'm like, there's no vial thing around me. And then I realized that yellow meter in the bottom. I was like, oh, that's what that was. Like, it doesn't really explain to you that, like, you could wait it out. Mm-hmm. Or
you don't have to get the snake oil.
No.
It'll regenerate. You can put a perk into it to make it regenerate fast.
I found it was easier to stop finding my body parts and just let the meter fill up. Like, I just did not care to find my body parts. It was annoying and frustrating.
There are times where it's a lot better. He just died.
Yeah.
No, I was good. Look, see, but you don't die.
I'm stuck with this. You know what it is? I'm judgmental now. I'm like, well, you should have done this and that.
Well, you
don't watch this. This is for background effect. Everyone face that one.
The last thing I'll say before I let you go is, because you can't die in any other game where you would die, they just had to make a really bad excuse on like why you can't continue. Like the grandbaby thing, I get it. Even though you would have to let your head sit in acid and it would go away. I don't care how immortal you are. The other one is like if you fell off a building, and Arcadia wouldn't be with me on a mission. It would just be like, by the time you got back up, Arcadia was killed by demons. Sorry. Like, okay, well, it's not my problem.
To be fair, she does die quite a bit.
I'm not saying no.
I didn't have a problem with the way they wrote around like having it.
They could have
end game
had more than two scenarios. I'm like, oh, Arcadia definitely died.
I mean, that wasn't for me like what was breaking the game. For me, the gunplay is terrible in it.
Oh, it's so bad.
And the sword fighting, the sword play is not decent, but better than the gunplay. But you start wailing aimlessly on certain things, and the camera...
I use the sword the whole game.
And I did as well, but the camera just randomly will lock onto other things, and it's so disorienting, so you can't really pick an enemy.
Yeah.
And like when you were saying, when you start to learn how to roll and dodge, the roll is really generous. Like even if you get hit, if you're in the roll animation...
It's got a lot of invincibility frames.
So like, if you
Dark Souls.
If you start doing that, you get better at it, but...
Yeah.
At the same time, like there's so many instances where your head just pops off.
Yeah.
And I would roll over in my body, and you're just spending so much time like trying to hop back on your head.
The head hole, like it's not gonna work.
And
like, it's not.
This is not a fun game dynamic, and there are so many times where because everything kind of ignores you except for the little things that eat your heads when you're dead. Or when your head.
Well, see,
when you're not dead, you are living forever and the baby of a grandbaby.
Well, that's the thing though, because again, like they don't really explain it, but it kind of the game punishes you for falling apart because when you lose your head, you stop completely.
But
like,
you
hit a wall.
You get stuck in these segments though, where as soon as you get yourself back together, it just pops
Somebody
your heads
else
off
gets
again, and then you get back together, and it just and it's like I would feel better just resetting this checkpoint, trying again because you get caught in this loop. And
that only really happened to me in the final boss, but that's because I didn't understand the shockwave was happening. So I was just like, I'd get together and it'd hit again. I'm like, oh, come on, what's going on here? What enemy's doing this?
I did like the boss design for a certain part. I mean, I'm trying to like dig for like the good aspects of it.
It was a good idea on paper. That's the thing. It was such a good idea on paper. It just was not put together well. Puns.
There you go.
Bryce
I'll go through like what
Bryce has infected him now. He's gonna start making a bunch of Bryce.
Slice him, man. Bryce him.
I like the art design of the game. I thought the color palette was like well used. There's like a lot of diverse.
There's a lot of color
to go through.
Other than the first level.
The bridge level was cool.
The bridge level is probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
I mean, so the game does have a pretty decent level design. Like going to Arcadia's apartment is a nice break.
It's a nice break between the action.
It's paced okay, but the thing is, you always feel like you're building up to something that never really happens. Like all the fights are just constant horde modes, and my biggest problem with the game are those womb things that would just spit out enemies.
How did you guys deal with those?
You just wail on them forever. If there's stuff near them, the environments are really helpful. You can drop stuff on them.
That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's probably one of my favorite things about the game, is like, they don't explain this at all, but the environment can be really damaging.
It's very helpful.
Like,
and you, though.
really help. That's the thing.
It does a lot if you use it the right way.
Yeah.
But those wombs, they would put them like... in
the
furthest corner of the game,
and
you'd be like, I mean, and there were certain segments where they weren't there. It was simply kill this number of enemies.
I don't know if you noticed this, but like when I first tried killing the wombs, it was taking me like 30 seconds each time. I'm like, dude, this is insane. Like, this is so bad. And
then sometimes
surrounding them are little yellow balls, and if you take them all out, it gets it down to like less than a quarter.
But even knowing that, I figured that out. Even knowing that, there was a huge inconsistency. Some of them would die in 2 or 3 hits, and some of them would take over a minute. And I know there was just a big, really big inconsistency with all of that.
I think what this is you can actually screw yourself over if you don't have a functioning build too. Like if you don't use the correct abilities.
Like you really have to manage your abilities in the game.
The ability menu worthless. Throw it out there.
I would disagree entirely because without
the ability menu,
without the ability menu, the guns are useless.
Well, you need to equip abilities, but the game does a really bad job of reminding you that you have upgrades available or how to balance them.
It became a thing because the first one of the first upgrades you unlock is to make your guns a little bit more powerful, and then so every level I'm like, is there more? Is there more? Well, so at the time, like I had the full upgrade, and like they finally, I mean.
They take up a lot of spots, too, when you get the higher upgrades.
If you always get the gun upgrades as they're available, the guns are fine. It's just, like, it's not... If you don't upgrade that gun, you might as well just not use it.
Well, that's kind of the game, like, the approach that I took. And you can go back and, like, re-equip him or whatever. But I was playing with Kevin, because he came over and we were playing it for a little bit. And there's, like, a section of it where...
I don't even remember what we were doing.
What were you saying a second ago about...
the abilities?
Yeah. Right, with the slow-mo effect. And it was like...
Oh, that was the stupidest thing.
And it says highly recommended, and it takes 4 inventory slots.
Yeah.
So...
No, that took 1, didn't it?
No, it took 4.
Are you sure?
It was a big one. So I was like, it's
highly recommended. I'm 90% sure.
No, even if it took 1... Like,
it did specify to tell you single player only. Like don't use this in multiplayer.
So I was like, it sounds like we need... It was completely useless.
There's multiplayer in the game, Rick. I didn't even test it. It doesn't need multi-mode.
Well, that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna go back and we're gonna stream some aggressive.
The only time it would be okay is if like each person has like a limb.
No,
and you have to assemble yourself into like.
it's like Evolve, but you play as all parts of Bryce.
It's each person controls one limb,
Yeah.
so there's
Fire!
one
Walk
leg,
forward,
one
walk
leg,
forward,
one leg.
backwards, leg, one.
Actually, that would be cool to
like
see
the
it
surgeon
if
simulator
there's
of
if
Neverdead.
there were
Like a
4
game
people
of
playing.
Plop.
If there were 4 people playing and each person was controlling a limb, that'd be incredible to watch as the 5th person because they're just like.
Wait,
One guy with a sword, the other one
What
just.
would you do with the head?
The head, you just
You just be
roll.
in charge of getting the
Well,
body
I
back
feel like
together.
nobody would have the head.
Well, you
I
would
feel
be in
like
charge of
somebody-
going getting the body back together, I feel.
Yeah,
The head
yeah. It's
would
like,
be
come on,
fine.
guys, we gotta get the gang together again.
So it's
We're
basically,
gonna go big this time.
so it just turns into a giant gory game of
I don't know. I honestly, I've never played it, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
Throw it out there. Well, Mike, let's let Mike finish. We'll let Rick and John say what they got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, like we all have
Whatever you got to say.
similar thoughts about it. I mean, it was a pretty good concept,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Just I feel like they got halfway through it and realized that there was no way to turn it into an enjoyable game, so they just try to stretch it out for length. And those wound things really killed it for me because every level just turned into a horde mode. It turned into and it was inconsistent because sometimes you just have to kill a set number of enemies to progress, and there was nothing. And then sometimes you had to go track down one of those wombs and kill it.
Yeah.
So you never knew if there was one hiding anywhere.
Yeah.
So
well, you would know because they make that throw up sound. They always go.
if it's near you, I mean, because there are
Well,
certain
even if
parts
it's-
where like they are really far
Well, no,
away.
the courtyard.
Oh.
The courtyard in the beginning,
I was stuck for at least.
That was really confusing.
I thought there
and
was
that's the
one.
best part.
I
Like,
killed
they
it.
always do that.
I
It was
killed
a
it. and I
bad
was-
introduction at the end.
Yeah,
Like, it was
yeah.
terrible.
I killed it. I was like, well, why are they still coming? And then you realize there's 3 more in the
Yeah.
corners of this
Yeah.
place that you never
Yeah.
went through.
They were not the corners. There was one like in the middle. I was like, I
Well-
searched every corner. Where is this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And threw it in like a random spot. It was not a great time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the most that I have to. I mean, I'm happy I finished it. The end of the game for me was way better than the beginning of it. The last
Yeah,
boss fight was
definitely.
frustrating as hell, but I'm happy. Like it was
It was
fun
satisfying
in
once you figured it out and really pulled it
aspects.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it definitely yeah.
Because at first I hated the end boss fight, but once I figured out the mechanics, I'm like, this is actually pretty cool. Like I wish.
The last boss fight was
I
a good
wish
idea too.
the last boss fight was the only time in the game where I felt like I was really wrestling with the controls because like the controls aren't great in this game, but most of the time it's like you
Well,
kinda
they
get what you're
introduced like a
supposed to do.
precise platforming element
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
last minute, and you're timed and being shot at.
Yeah.
And then your head falls off.
I mean, it
And
was
you're like-
was really rough.
And you've got to get up to the top platform to shoot through.
yeah.
Yeah.
You,
it's
you
just-
really gotta you gotta focus
Yeah,
and you really gotta give it your all. Like
Bad time. So I guess we'll let.
Did you play it, Rick?
A long time ago.
Rick, if you can remember anything, go ahead.
Speak or forever hold
how
my
does
peace.
this footage make you feel, Rick?
Are you having like PTSD watching this?
Well, let me get my real emotional
Zoom in on
reaction.
it.
You gotta look at the camera, Rick. They gotta see you.
Well, come on, man! You're supposed to shoot those guys. You shoot the tank. This isn't my fault. That's why you exploded.
This isn't a gameplay evaluation of.
We need the John Madden pen where he's like throwing himself.
All he's got to do is got one arm here. You gotta go back, get your other arm.
Now, when he's throwing, he's missing his left leg. That's gonna cost him some yards.
I'm gonna be honest, it makes me feel sad.
For the record, this barely shows up on the camera, so no one knows to be staring at a screen.
Look, whatever. It's background, okay?
I know, that's what I'm saying,
All I'm gonna say is that from what I played from a long time ago.
How much did you pay for this game if you bought it a long time ago?
I bought it.
Even a long time ago, I paid like $9 for it.
Yeah, I
It's been a long time ago.
Dude, it
so
dropped
sorry.
so fast.
I paid $5.
I remember actually, I think you were going from GameStop when I was there, but I remember getting it, opening the box for it. I looked at it, I was like, this game's going to be like $20 in 2 days. In like a week, it was down to 20 or like $10. It was.
This is one of those games like you finish it and you're like, all right, you know, it wasn't good, but I had fun and I got frustrated.
No,
but
I
you think
didn't.
to yourself, man, there's got to be a few hundred or 1,000 people out there that spent $60 on this game.
Yeah.
Somebody had this thing pre-ordered.
Oh, actually,
I'm so sorry.
This brought this up. I have to say, the worst, and this is where you can tell the game just sloppy detailing. When Arcadia goes down and it says press a button,
there's no animation.
animation. She's just like,
Yeah, she just.
Bryce, I'm dying. She's like, I'm good. Gets up. No animation.
Rick, you're an EMT. That's really how it works.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
I
You
like
just
seeing
point the
look
shot
at
pad at him like,
that is-
I'm up.
That's worse than Saints Row. Like, I see, he got shot in the head. Let me just. All right, you're good.
Yeah, when you arrive on Steam, there's no rush. You just get out and you just go.
Yeah.
You good? Catch you later. But actually, a long time ago, when this game was like first announced and everything, like at
I don't even remember an
I
announcement.
remember that because I'm a huge Devil May Cry fan.
Yeah.
And at the time, they were advertising this thing like it was a hack and slash, like it was going to be a Devil May Cry.
Let's see.
And I was super excited, and then I finally got to try it out for that abysmally small price that I paid to actually play it, and I played about 3 hours of it, and then immediately sold that game because
that's fine.
This it fails in like every aspect. It controls.
Call me crazy.
It kind of does. It really fails.
Call me crazy. It tries to do. I like this more than Devil May Cry. I've only played Devil May Cry 3. I've only played Devil May Cry 3.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I don't. But I'm not so sure that you can't really hold that argument.
No, maybe not. More? Because here's the thing: it's not up its own ass. It knows it's a shit game. Devil May Cry won't admit it's a shit game.
This game does not know it's a shit game.
It's not a shit game, though,
man. It knows.
Devil May
Cry's an awesome game.
Yes.
I think about 4. I think
and you think it's up its own ass?
He eats pizza, and it's like, I'm just a happy guy eating pizza. Time to shoot guys.
It's supposed to be crazy and lame, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, and it doesn't work on that.
Yeah, but
it's boring.
Dante's great.
Dante doesn't give a shit about anything.
I just thought of my recommendation for next month's game because I haven't played Devil May Cry in a long time.
Save
he
yourself
just
some
never
time.
gives a shit how
it's
bad
a good
the
game. It's just
situation
not.
is.
Well, I actually have an idea for next month's game. But hold up, John, you got anything to say
about?
Did you play it?
No.
This is
that's actually up to a vote. You don't get to just pick.
Hold on. You're gonna like
picks now.
No, you're gonna like it. This is John's first game club. He
dude.
didn't play Neverdead, but John, anything for what you're seeing?
It looks like a great idea. It looks like they just dropped the ball completely, man. Like
wait till you get a control in your hand.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it looks like I like the idea.
It looks
of,
like it plays way better than it does.
No, dude, it looks like I dig the idea of losing your limbs and doing stuff with it. I mean, it was an idea that sold me on when Splatterhouse came out. I was actually pretty stoked on using your own limbs, and that kind of never went anywhere either. But
don't rip off your limbs.
Yeah, no, I like the idea that they're going for, and it looks like they just completely dropped the ball. If they made a second one where maybe you can die by having your head destroyed or something.
That actually, you know what? I'd take that.
Yeah,
I would go.
that'd be cool.
Because I'd rather die than get my limbs.
Yeah, like if you're on the platforming level and your head gets knocked off and flies off the platform
by a bird.
A crow just picks I would love if your body exploded and the brain's just like, oh, come on! And then a crow comes down and just pecks your eye and just like, oh, eye's gone.
Or you know what?
I was gonna say
there could have been a platforming thing where a crow picks up your head and you have to kind of lick him to make him move and fly around.
It's just the good old Castlevania Medusa head flies by and knocks yours off. Yeah.
I will say this.
But it would be a good concept.
I'm never going to tell anybody this is a great game.
Yeah.
But I will say this. There are times even today where I'm just sitting minding my own business and I think back to it and I'm like, God, I want to play more of the game. I wish they had made a second one.
I was going to say this.
Because the thing is, especially with Ninja Gaiden and Sigma, there are stretches where it's just dude, there's too much combat in this game. Just get it over with. It goes really slow. It just sucks. Just get me to the next part. And Neverdead, there were some slow parts, but I never felt super bored. It was just what the hell is this? What is this?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It's fun. Here's the thing. Deadly Premonition
is amazing. It's the best game ever made. I'm new to this.
Never going to die.
I'm new to this club.
A lot of people said I like this game because it's a B movie. I don't think Deadly Premonition is a B movie. I think it's an A-list movie. I think there's real artistry behind Deadly Premonition.
Because it was well written.
Neverdead is
yes, it was.
Neverdead is an Ed Wood movie where it's just spit and balsa wood are holding it together, and it's just it's like watching a one-armed 4-year-old pretend to be a 4-year-old. It's God bless him. Look at him. He's doing it. Look at him. It's so stupid. It's lovely. It's like a dog that has breathing problems. You're just I want to hug you forever.
Don't make fun of Ivy.
No, I didn't mean Ivy. I just mean
You straight up sold me on this game. After
it's garbage.
After hearing that description, I'm going out and buying it.
It's garbage.
John, do you have a PS3?
Yeah,
I'll let you have it.
It's
cool.
You can have it.
I'm a fan of bad games that are fun anyway.
Look, it's garbage, but goddamn, did it shoot for the moon?
I
All right,
bought,
all I'm
dude,
gonna say.
I bought Fugitive Hunter. Of course, I'm a fan.
What the
of
hell
that
is
game.
Fugitive Hunter?
The
Don't
worst
you
game
want
I've ever played.
Got it. All right, so I guess we'll go through the final shelf rating. I already gave my answer publicly. No
Yes.
shelf.
No.
No,
Yep.
I'm not putting it on the shelf.
When, hear me out.
I'm gonna give it.
You don't need
yes.
When was the last meeting that we actually had this good of a conversation?
It's true.
Deadly premonition.
It's true. So I was
There's
saying
so
the whole
much to
time
talk about
playing
with
this
this
game, I was like, "There's gonna be so much to talk about."
Yeah.
But the shelf idea is stuff that, like, if you guys
Yeah.
were just hanging out here and needed to play
Mike,
something,
I want to play a game.
and we didn't have a lot of games.
I'd
You
say,
know, we-
Mike, get me Neverdead. I need to beat Bryce Boltzmann.
I would never want to just play it again
No.
for fun. I mean, I might. No, I
I'm
really don't
probably
think I'm
gonna
ever
revisit
gonna.
it a
I
couple
don't
years
know
from
if
now.
I'm ever gonna play it
All right.
again
Yeah.
So
because there's just nothing for me to revisit it for.
we got
Yeah.
2 yeses for the shelf and 3 nos. That's
So-
it. That's
Wait,
what
who
we got.
else had a yes?
I
Rick
did
said
just
no.
to be an
He said a
ass.
yes.
Rick, you're the deciding factor.
No,
I
he
crap
said
I
no.
talk.
already said no.
He said
Okay.
he was very
No.
public and
Yeah.
said
Oh,
no.
okay. I was gonna say I crap talk Devil May Cry 3, so you might want to say no.
No.
Yeah.
So 3 nos and 2 yeses.
I
for
didn't
Neverdead.
actually plan
So
this
that's
on
a
the
yes.
shelf. I just
So
wanted
here's
to
my
Yes in
idea.
our hearts.
Here's an idea for.
We're not throwing it out.
We're not throwing it out.
We're putting this in a
So,
special
so
closet.
now that
giving it to
Rick's
me.
back from the dead and coming to meetings,
Yeah.
John's new.
Eh.
I say we let them pick the next game. They both get to pick, and then they can do something to compete for the.
And kiss
Well,
each
we'll
other.
finish. We'll finish up with this, and then we'll start because we did. I wanted to do the online voting for this month's mission or mission.
Mission.
It basically is a mission. This month's game, but I totally just have been absorbed.
Well, that's
with
why I'm
work
saying
lately.
we do this now, but that's me.
Well, I'm just saying we'll finish this up and we'll
Yeah, we'll get there.
we'll figure that
we
out.
decided off,
So
off camera.
right.
It would be a good
Whatever.
decision.
Yeah.
And we also were gonna have a Christmas special.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
So-
now.
Is there gonna be?
I've been here all
spiced-
day and heard nothing of this.
Is there gonna be spiced eggnog instead of whiskey?
This is gonna be spiced eggs. Just eggs rolled in nutmeg.
cinnamon,
Absolutely.
some paprika?
Yeah, just little
Absolutely.
peppermint patties inside of a hard-boiled egg.
Should we play a game after this or watch a movie?
You can do whatever
I'm down
you
for
want.
Do
I gotta
either.
go to bed.
Let's
soon.
let's play Neverdead.
Shut up.
Good night. All right. See you. Bye.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully, some of you played with us too, and you
Yes.
can
Everybody, the world played with us.
the world played along. Well, make sure to leave a
A
comment
copy of
then
Neverdead is now $90 because it's so highly in
because
demand.
of this club. Absolutely.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
would
we
feel
wanna- we
like
wanna know what
I
everyone
would
else
feel
thought,
like I
so-
sold out harder than the guy that made the HIV pill like 700,000% more expensive.
Don't
I'd
talk
feel
about
like
that
we
guy.
would be that bad if we made Neverdead that expensive.
Oh, I would never sell my copy of Neverdead. This is I carry it with me everywhere I
Where
go.
is it? It's a
my
digital
jacket.
copy, but
It's in my jacket.
It's in my
It's in his
spirit.
It's in my digital, but it's in my
The
heart.
soul, it's in my heart.
To
But,
take it
yeah,
out, he'd have to
Literally, I ate the
Yeah,
disc, a little bit got in my left ventricle. It's this whole
So you
thing.
can't
I'm
take
not
it anymore,
serious.
so you're better.
Yes.
But
I'm really good
comment
at
about what
pulling
you
my
thought
head
of the
off
game and give us a like and a sub. You can go to
Perfectly an Italian combo.
absolutely, and you
Chicken
can
parm.
you can join us at GameClubs.org
Link in
and
the
/
description.
forum if you want to go. Yep.
I'll
And,
I'll
you know,
remember.
Thanks for watching.
Science.
Science
All right.
intellectual.
I want Rick and